4.2, period from a trig graph. So we kind of talked about it. A period is one complete repetition of its pattern. It's also called its cycle. So it has a repeating pattern, and you have to figure out, or what helps me is knowing if it's a sine graph or a cosine graph. So a sine graph, on the y-axis is where I start. It's y-intercept. It starts at the midline. So we've learned now that this would be the middle of this parent function right here on the x-axis. So it actually goes middle, and then it goes up to its high point, back to middle, then it goes down to its low point, and then middle. This is its cycle or its period. So in this picture right here, I have 1, 2 cycles or 2 periods. Okay, cosine is different because it doesn't start at its midline. Okay, its midline is still on the x-axis. It actually starts up here at its high point. So it goes high, middle, down to low, middle, high. That is its cycle or one period of cosine graph. And so in this picture right here, it has 1, 2 periods. All right, so let's try number 1, and we're going to see where it stops, okay? So it's not wanting to know how many periods, it's wanting to know how long is it. Okay, so we've got, starting here, that would be high, because this would be the midline of this graph. High, middle, low, middle, high. So this is a cosine graph. This is just for our own knowledge. So one of these cycles here, where does it end at? And I know that's kind of blurry, sorry. Looks like pi over 2. So its period, you can put PER, would be pi over 2. Every pi over 2, it would repeat its pattern. All right, number 2, we'll always start on the y-axis. Let's find the midline of this one. Okay, so bottom goes to -3, top goes to 1. That would put us at a midline of -1. That helps me. So am I starting at the midline? No. I'm starting high, middle, low, middle, high. So again, this is a cosine graph. Here is one repetition or one cycle, and it looks like it stops at 4 pi. So every 4 pi, it would repeat its pattern. Okay, and I got a couple more because this is kind of confusing. On number 3, let's go ahead and find the midline again. Pretty easy. It's between 3 and 5, so halfway in the middle would be at 4. Okay, the first point I'm going to start at is the y-intercept, and it is middle. It goes middle, high, middle, low, middle. So that is a sine graph. And it looks like it stops its pattern at 3 pi. So every 3 pi, it would repeat. And number 4, middle or midline would be here at, looks like 1. And it does start on its midline. So it goes middle, high, middle, low, back to middle. So this is a sine graph, and there's one repetition here, and it looks like it stops at 2 pi. Okay, why don't you pause and try number 5 and 6. Number 5, it looks like it repeats its pattern every 8 pi. This was a cosine graph because here's the midline. It starts high, middle, low, middle, high. There's my 8 pi. And then number 6 is a sine graph because it goes midline, high, middle, low, middle, stops at 2 pi.